What's up, Tea Tribe? Welcome back to Tea with Publicity. It's me, your host, Alyssa Amoroso. I don't know who else it would be. I am here with my producer, Mackenzie, as always.
Hi.
Hi. I had to quit the weekend, and I feel like I keep saying that lately, but I feel like I took the first month of the summer to like not do much for some reason. I was still like getting used to the whole world being back open.
Right.
And now the second half of the summer, I'm like,
let's go.
Let's go. Yeah. So if you guys are tuning in today, if this is your first time listening, there will be an interview with Liz Gonzales and Kayce Smith from my office. I actually loved our chat. I could have kept speaking to them for hours. I think us three and then Kelly Keegs are the four girls on the content side that are 30 and up. So it's just interesting to talk to them. I felt like it was such like a direct, cool conversation with just like women my age and a little older. And I think you guys are really actually going to love the conversation. But before we get into that, as always, I am going to update you on what I've been up to. I did the Ask Alyssa segment with them, so you'll get their advice as well as my own. And then we're going to spill the tea because I need to talk about Outer Banks. I did a poll if you guys wanted me to recap it or not. And I think like 30% of the people said yes. And then the rest were like, it's too soon, bitch. We need time to watch the season. Did you watch it, Mackenzie?
I watched like 3 episodes and then I literally was watching it last night and then I got too spooked because my roommates weren't home and I get like very scared easily. So I had to turn on Love Island immediately after before I went to bed just to like not be like sketched out before.
Also, like episode 3 was out of control.
Yeah. Wild.
So we'll go through some of it. I think what I'm going to do is talk about Outer Banks at the very, 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 very end of the Spill the Tea segment. So like the last thing we talk about today. So if you want to stick around and listen, you could listen. Actually, I don't want to spoil it for you. Okay, I'm gonna tell you guys why it's a HIBLI, but I won't say too much. And then maybe in like a week from now we can dive into it a little bit deeper. I also do want to talk about Love Island. Oh, I need to start F-Boy Island.
Oh, me too. I didn't realize it started last night and then I saw the tweets about it.
Oh my God. We'll talk about it in the Spill the Tea segment. Let me put it on my list. But anyway, so this weekend, I feel like I had a very long weekend because sorry, I'm writing down F-Boy Island. I feel like I had a long weekend because I went to the shore on Thursday. We had a like work thing going on. So I was like, okay, let me go down on Thursday because my coworkers had been at the Jersey Shore all summer. And obviously I live there. I'm from there. And like I hadn't been able to meet up with them. And it was just a good opportunity to go for work. So I went Thursday. It was so funny because I was on the train down to the shore. And all of a sudden, like the conductor came up to me and he was like, hey, we're going to like switch carts. Like you have to walk up to get off at your stop. So as I'm like walking, we were like in the middle part of the train. I'm walking one way and these girls are walking another way. And then all of a sudden they go, publicity.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh my God, like, hi.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're on our way down the shore for the party tonight.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I was like, no way, same. They were like, we saw it on your story, so we came down.
Oh my
so
gosh.
It was just so funny. So I met some Tea Tribers on the train, saw them later on that night. The only thing that sucked was like, I think there would have normally been a much bigger turnout, but it was actually torrentially, like downpouring.
Oh yeah, on Thursday, yeah.
When I got there, my friend came with me from high school. And we got stuck. Like we must have walked in during the worst time of the rainstorm. Really? First of all, I was drenched. Mm-hmm. Like my pants, because they were kind of long, and the streets had like 4 inches of water in them.
Oh yeah, so it was like flooding up your pants.
They were wet up to my knees.
Oh my gosh.
When I say I was wet, I can't even explain it to you. Oh wow. After I did my hair and makeup, my makeup's dripping. I had to put my hair into a bun. Like it was out of control. So yeah, so it was really fun. It was nice to catch up with my friend who was a boy. So it was like kind of funny because I'm like, everyone thinks I'm walking into this thing with a date.
Oh, really? That's
you know what
funny.
I mean?
Yeah. Like, who is this?
And he was laughing also because like I introduced him and like everyone in the Tea Tribe was calling him by his name. He's like, damn, they pay attention.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's so funny.
Yeah, it was really, really funny. So I did that Thursday night. Then Friday, obviously, I just stayed down the shore. And Saturday, we went on the boat. And then I went back to the city Saturday night. My sister and her like husband had to go back to the city, and I'm like, why not just hop in the car with them?
Yeah.
So then I wound up going out Saturday night in the city with people from high school, like who I haven't seen since because guy friends, like my girlfriends from high school I see all the time, but my guy friends, like it was so fun to see them. People just kept shot after shot after shot. Like I was just. It was a doozy.
Yeah.
It was a doozy.
That's so funny.
I had fun. Your girl got her flirt on. I'm not going to say much. Well, then I was supposed to hang out with Alabama man.
Oh, yeah. He flew in.
Okay,
right?
so here's the sitch. He came in Wednesday, I think, for work. Mm-hmm. And we were supposed to hang out Thursday.
Yeah.
But then I went down the shore Thursday for work. So I texted him and I'm like, I'm really sorry, but like I need to do this thing for work. Is there any chance I could see you Sunday? Because I know he's leaving today, Monday.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh my God, like I'll make anything work. Like it's not a big deal. Like Sunday's great. So I come back to the city because I think I'm seeing him. And that's not the only reason I come back. Like whatever, I had a ride and whatnot. And Sunday I wake up, I'm so hungover. So I'm like, unless he's going to like proactively ask to hang out, I'm not saying anything because I think a guy should like make the moves.
Yes, definitely.
And I don't hear from him until like 4 or 5.
Oh.
And he's like, hey, like, sorry, like I'm working, something came up. And I'm just kind of like, it's a Sunday. Maybe it did. You know what? I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
Like maybe something really did happen. And I just wrote like, okay, good luck.
Yeah.
And then he texted me like at like 9 being like, oh, like what a stressful day. And I just didn't answer because I'm just bitter.
And he's going back to Alabama. So really, what can you do?
Well, that was the whole thing. It's like, I wanted to see you while we're in New York. I'm not going to be your pen pal.
Right, exactly.
So like you missed the boat. Yeah, no. Also, he's going to listen to this because he told me he listens to the last podcast.
Oh,
so like
gosh.
whatever. I'll just say this to his face anyway. But the thing is, like make a plan, like be like, hey, what time tomorrow works for you? Like there was none of that. Like all of a sudden it was Sunday and then it's 4 p.m. and I haven't heard. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, no, it's like tripod man, where all he does is just keep like DMing you or texting you and then never makes a plan even though he says he's gonna.
I can't. Also, guys, like it's so hard because there's so much I want to say about like boys, like stuff that happened this weekend, but I know people listen and then also it's tough. Like part of me was thinking this weekend, I'm like, do I do like a Patreon like behind a paywall?
Oh yeah.
Where I could like really spill the tea.
Yeah.
Because like I want to vent. And like I also just want to tell you guys because like I'm sad about something and I feel like I can't talk about it.
Yeah, because then like people might connect the dots if you talk about it right away, and you don't want to put anyone on blast.
The dots are too easily connected.
Exactly.
Okay, so even weirder. This is how like wild you guys are. The Tea Tribe is insane. I love it though because it's really funny. So I was talking about on my podcast after Nantucket how there was the sugar daddy and he was funding this liquor brand.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow this girl messaged me and she's like, oh, is he funding this brand? Sends me the brand. She's like, those are my friends. I noticed one of the friends started following me on Instagram. So I'm like, it obviously got back to him that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I literally can't give any details.
Oh my gosh. That's insane.
And it's funny, but it's like everything gets back. So that's why I try to be super like close lipped.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know
it's
what
like
I mean?
It's like every girl who you give them one name and they'll find their Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, social security number, like they're like the FBI agent.
And I'm the same way. Like, don't get me wrong.
100%.
When I'm listening to a podcast and I'm invested in the host's life, I will go to the ends of the earth to find out what she's talking about. So I get it, but it's just funny. So sometimes I'm like, I wish I could say more, but whatever.
Yeah. As long as they don't put it on blast either. They can find out, but
it's true.
Don't be it up in everyone's business.
And make sure to join the Facebook group because sometimes I spill a little bit more tea there because it feels a little bit more like private. The links in my Instagram bio and everything. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is you guys. So as you know, I've been going to the personal trainer 2 days a week. I'm physically stronger. Like I am lifting like 65-pound weights. Like I'm really like physically stronger, but I still don't feel like I look any different. So my trainer's like, on the days that you don't come here, like just incorporate some light cardio in. So even if that's like walking or just like, you know, I'm not a runner. So like for me, cardio is like spin or walking. So I've like really been walking a lot. And the other day I walked from 45th Street in New York down to the financial district. It's like over 4 hours by the third mile, after an hour of personal training and after city biking to work that day. Wow. By the fourth mile, like I'm like, my body's going to break in half. My knees were clicking. I'm not even kidding. I have like a click now in my left knee, and I Googled it. It's like runner's knee. I'm like, I didn't even run. This is pathetic. So I've been really, really, really trying to walk a lot, and I want minimum like 10,000 steps a day. So I was thinking we could hold each other accountable and call it the T-Tribe Trot. If you want to trot with me. I didn't do it every day this weekend. Like again, you know, 5 days a week. Like it's hard to commit to 7 days a week. Like yesterday I was pretty lazy because I was hungover. But, you know, I think every day, at least 5 days a week, we should at least try to just like get our steps in. I'm gonna say, oh my God, yesterday, you're gonna die. I walked 1,200 steps.
Oh my God.
The day before though, I hit 10,000. The day before that, 10,000, 15,000, 16,000. See, I'm doing good. I'm doing good, guys. So I think let's just like walk and T-Tribe trot and motivate each other. And yeah, I think that's the last on my list that I need to catch you guys up on. So I will get into the interview now with Liz and Kayce. And also don't forget, while you're walking around, while you're getting your 10,000 steps in, make sure you have your TASER StrikeLight with you, because the people at TASER believe that safer self-defense is better self-defense. The TASER StrikeLight is rechargeable, high-powered. It has a flashlight, and it can repel an attacker through its electric stun feature. It literally combines a flashlight and a stun gun. So it's really good if you're walking home and it starts getting dark out and you're feeling like a little uncomfortable. You could just use it on its own as a flashlight, which is good. And then if someone comes near you, turn that bad boy on, and they'll honestly be scared just by the noise of it because it's pretty loud. So why would you have a flashlight when you're walking without having a TASER feature? Like, it doesn't make sense. You might as well have 2 in 1. It is a non-lethal self-protection device that is small and lightweight, and you can carry it in your glove compartment or a purse, or even like if you have those leggings with pockets. So TASER StrikeLight is available without a permit in most US states. Get the TASER StrikeLight at taser.com with promo code T. Save 15% off now at taser.com with the promo code T, spelled TASER.com, promo code T. Restrictions apply, and you can see the site for details. Okay, guys, let's get into the interview. Okay, guys, I am here with Liz Gonzales and Kayce Smith, my coworkers. Thanks for joining me, guys.
Thanks for having us.
We're pumped.
I know.
I'm so excited.
First podcast as a duo about our podcast.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And like the first like 30 and up trio, I would say.
Oh, that's a good
Is
point.
that true?
We just need like Keegs in here, and then I feel like we've got all the 30-year-olds, girls and up, right?
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like there's like such an age gap that's like everyone's 23 or everyone's over 30.
Exactly.
It's a very strange thing. There's like nobody in their mid 20s.
I know.
I also thought that you were still in your 20s up until a couple weeks ago.
30.
So
yeah.
No, I know. Well, hey, that makes me feel good. But you meet people and you don't know. And like, I feel like Barstool particularly hires people like out of college or people like leave college. So everyone's like 19. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
But then it's like almost like everybody's ageless in here too. Like you don't realize it until like you're out in public and Ria's like, oh, I'm 24, and you're like, what? Like you don't seem like you're 24.
I disagree. I feel old as fuck at Barstool. I do not feel ages. I feel like I am constantly the one that looks at me like I have no idea what you're talking about in any way, shape, or form. The words you're using, the people you're talking about, no clue.
I try to stay up to date on like trends and stuff, so I feel in it.
But you're a TikTok queen too.
Exactly. Like
we're not TikTok people.
Like I'm pretty like Gen Z in terms of in the know.
Mm-hmm. I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't do TikTok, but I know I keep up with the trends. Liz,
you're hip, yeah.
Liz doesn't know shit. Liz doesn't know shit.
I don't know shit.
So you
It's
guys,
true. I mean, I was an old lady when I was a teenager. So
just an old soul, like since the very beginning. So you guys recently did like a 6-part podcast series together, kind of talking about like similarly to what I talk about, just like being women in the workplace, being like pitted against each other, dealing with just like the shit that we deal with as women of like men thinking one thing about us or putting judgments on us. And what has it been like for you guys to talk about these things? Because you do have like primarily male audiences. How's the feedback been?
Yeah, we do.
it turns out.
Yeah, we found out it's a very primarily male audience. It's an interesting story for the two of us because if you listen to the podcast, and again, it's 6 episodes, but I mean, we actually fought with each other in 2018. Like we went through the exact women versus women being pitted against each other situation in real life. So this podcast was like a full circle of like,
Big
we're not
time.
just talking about what happens, like we've been through it.
a very, very verbal and
Very
very
public.
dramatic and public fight.
It was on national radio.
It wasn't
on-
even like in the office amongst like our coworkers. It was on Sirius XM radio, a nationally broadcast fight. Pretty
I
impressive
mean,
from the
I told
standpoint.
Dave, our boss, to shut the fuck up in the middle of the argument. That'll tell you exactly
my
how
favorite thing.
it got. But like the podcast was something that Liz came up with, and as soon as she pitched it to me, it was like, this is an amazing idea because we actually did not like each other because we were pitted against each other from an outside standpoint, and we fed into it. And now we're like, what were we doing? Why did we do that?
I mean, we wasted like 2 years.
And now I
Like
feel
2
like
and
you
a half,
guys
yeah.
are like great friends and get along really well.
Because we're very similar. Like we
like,
enjoy the same
exactly.
things, but it's just like we really truly fell into the male dominated industry narrative of 2 girls can't like the same thing.
Exactly. And it's
And-
funny too because we also, or at least I'll speak for myself, thought that we were very, very dissimilar people. Like I'm like, oh, I'm not like Kayce, and Kayce,
She's a
I'm
blonde, I'm a
felt
brunette.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, exactly.
She's a
We
basic
both
white
felt
girl.
that way, and yeah, put it on white people. And then we got to know each other, and we were like, oh, it's like eerie how many similarities we have that are just like naturally there.
The first day when you guys recorded together, you showed up in the same outfit
God.
accidentally.
I opened up my apartment door and saw her wearing the exact, and it wasn't like it was a normal outfit either.
It really wasn't. Yeah.
Like it was just like, how in the world did this happen? Like the same color
Right.
fleece tied around our waists.
Right.
Like,
Who would
very
wear like a
strange.
baby blue tee with
Yeah.
a green and like yellow flannel?
It was
like
so weird.
tied around the waist. Like it's just
that was really
a
weird.
super unique outfit. That
I don't think anybody actually believes that it was an accident. I mean, Mackenzie was there. She knows. She was like, it was actually an accident.
This is
But
weird.
it was,
I think she was embarrassed to be seen with us at that point. But
it was embarrassing. But you know what? We rolled with it. We looked great, in my opinion. I thought we
great.
looked fantastic.
I want to tap a little bit more into like your mental health, like whether it be like because of being in the public eye or just like outside of work. Is that something that you guys like prioritize or talk to therapists or just like deal with on a daily basis?
Oh yeah, and we've talked about that on the podcast too. I mean,
Big
both
time.
of us are in therapy. I am very. You're all
Raise
three
your
of us
hand
are
if you're in
Here we
therapy.
go.
Who among us?
if
We're
you
all
are not in
therapy.
therapy, you should be in therapy.
Yes, like I think normalizing just talking about therapy has been so important, especially through 2020, because
Yeah.
you know everyone was dealing with like the worst thing I think a lot of us have dealt with, and that was being alone, or whether you had a bunch of people, your mental health had to be prioritized. And so I think now it's like the stigma of being able to talk about mental health, I think, is melting, which is a good thing. But we're very open about it because I mean I've struggled with clinical depression since I was in high school, and I used to be scared about talking about it because I was like, oh, am I a weird one? Like I don't want people to know that I have to be on medication because my chemicals in my brain aren't the same as somebody else's. Now I'm like, no, like that's just real life. Like you have to be able to talk about it and be open about it. And if you can't, that's understandable, but no, you're not alone. And I think that's why we liked to talk about it, was that people that maybe feel uncomfortable know that they're not alone in what they feel.
Yeah. I think there's also still a huge, like, I think therapy is becoming very normalized. I think there's a huge stigma around medicine still where, because I thought this until people informed me, where like you think, oh, you go on medicines, you're going to be a zombie, you're going to be a shell of who you are. I think a lot of people believe that to be true about medicine. And now having friends on anxiety medicine or talking more with people openly, it's like, no, if there's an imbalance, you need to level it out.
Right.
You're not going to be walking around like a zombie all the time.
The problem is that some people do. I mean,
Yeah,
just like
over-medicate.
there's good doctors, there's bad doctors, and I have also seen friends be in those states, switch doctors, and then their life is back, you know, but it's like, yeah, it's very dangerous from the point of you can take the wrong medication or be over medicated or whatever the case may be. And you feel like a little part of you is, you know, is gone. And it's not, it should not be a stigma on medicine as a whole. That's just that particular, doctor. Right. Yeah. That particular doctor could not figure out exactly how to make this work better for you, how to balance what needs to be balanced. And so it's a real thing, but it also has nothing to do with the medication. It's just you know, you get one person that doesn't like something and then it becomes this gigantic thing of like, it must be this, when in reality, like there's good doctors, there's bad doctors. Same thing with therapists. Some people, you know.
True.
And there are some bad therapists.
Oh, because I tried a therapist when I first quit my job to work for myself. I like immediately went into therapy because it was such a weird thing to navigate going from like corporate life to working for yourself. That year was like a complete shit show. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to therapy. I felt like I would just go in there every day and talk about my life. And she would just be like, yeah, like, okay, and listen. Now the therapist I'm with, I'll say something and she'll be like, I noticed when you said that, like you started breathing heavier. Is there something coming up for you? And I'm like, oh, this is what a good therapist does.
That is what a good therapist
does. And it's like I feel like I've had a similar experience with a therapist when I first moved to New York, where I feel like we would sit there in almost silence sometime. Like I would tell her what was going on in my life, and she'd be like, okay. Like,
you're gonna help
me
out?
Job? Like, but like, no, my therapist now that I've been with for multiple years, like she does the same thing, and I've told her like that makes me feel like I can tell her way more of the truth. Like I've lied to therapists before because I'm like, well, they're not gonna give me good advice anyways. I'm not gonna tell them the truth. It's like,
why on earth? Yeah, like
you have to try it out, and that's the thing with medicine too. It's like, and you're right, there's such a stigma around it. But like anybody who knows me knows I am definitely not a zombie. In fact, I should probably be more of a zombie sometimes.
A little bit more mellowed out.
Yeah, like a little bit more mellowed out, maybe not as loud or complicit as I am, but it took me a while to figure out what exactly I needed to be on, and it took multiple doctors. But now that I do, and I have figured it out, it's like, yeah, it doesn't fix everything, but I'm willing to talk to people about it. It's like it is a process that you have to go through. It's not an easy fix. It's not a one-step process that you're all of a sudden better. But everyone should be working towards their mental health, whether you have a clinical, diagnosis or not. Like you could just be having like a shitty like season in life, and you need to talk to somebody.
Do you guys sorry to interrupt, do you, because this is important to me now that you've done so much work on yourself, do you want to date someone that also does work on themselves or is open to?
Yes.
That is a very
resounding
very hard yes.
Yes.
I've been in therapy for 6 years. I've learned a shit ton, done all like the grunge work and sad and shit, because you unfortunately have to learn, and I'm not going back. And so to be with somebody that's like doesn't want to deal with their problems or issues, the biggest problem with that is that they don't ever go away.
Right.
So especially as we're getting older, I don't want to be with somebody that is going to have a mental, breakdown at the age of 50 because they had problems when they were, a kid or in their 20s that they never dealt with. Like that needs to be dealt with, because everything gets piled up on top of each other. So the older we get, the worse it gets, and also the least likely you are to make a change. Yeah. Because change is painful.
Yeah, change can suck, but at the same time, like even just being open to it. Like I dated a guy in college who convinced me to get off of my antidepressants because he was like, you don't need that. Like what? And I mean, obviously
it's like, yeah, because I'm on them,
right?
And I'm chill.
Do you want to see what I look like when I'm not on them, sir? All right, let's give it to you. That relationship obviously didn't work out, but to me, it's like, and I understand, like, not everybody needs to the degree that maybe I do, and there's obviously people that need way more help than I do. But just the idea of being open to working on yourself is so important, because it's like no one has their shit completely together. Not one person on this planet is completely put together. They might look like it, they might portray that, but there's always something to work on, whether it's physical, mental, emotional. So if you're not open to it, like, then you and I just aren't going to work out.
Right. And to be clear, it's not like you have to go to therapy even, but it's everybody has their ways of meditating or of getting, angst out or whatever the case may be.
Reading books,
whatever it may be.
You better. Yes. Just a better human. It doesn't have to be like the little mold that I've created for myself. Everybody, responds to things differently. But the idea of, I would like to be better. I would like to reach the top of the self-fulfillment, pyramid someday. The work that goes into that.
100%. I also feel like as I've gotten older, my list of what I look for in a partner has shrunken down. And they say that happens, but like when it actually happens to you, you're like, oh wow, like it's happening. What everyone's told me is going to happen. It's like I went from being like, you need to be an athlete, you need to be 6'5", you need to, and now I'm like, you need to be a good person. You need to like be open. It's like things just completely kind of shift as you get older.
Yes, like I say this all the time. I mean, did you watch the OC?
Oh, of course.
Okay, so like Ryan Atwood was what everybody wanted when we were younger.
Yeah.
Like I want Seth Cohen now. Like
I never wanted Ryan.
Like,
I was always a Seth girl.
So
I kind of like Seth too.
I mean, I like.
But I get the
you know
analogy.
I mean? Like I like the funny. Like if you can make me laugh, like that to me is so much more important. And when I was in my early 20s, it was like, oh, you have to be like a really hot bad boy, and you could be like the worst personality ever. But if you were hot, like now it's like no. Like
now you're like, Ryan needs a lot of therapy.
Now, don't get me wrong. I won't turn down a hot dude by any stretch of the imagination. But to me, like you're right. Like as I've gotten older, it's like, oh, like I don't want to necessarily be with the hottest guy in the room. I want to be with a person who thinks like I am the hottest person in the room. You
100%.
know what I mean?
And I've also noticed, like in my life experience, because I always just went for like the hot guy, that like they usually aren't the full package other than the fact that like they're hot, so you are a little bit more like, we were talking about this the other day, how a hot guy could come up to you at a bar and use a corny ass pickup line and you'd be like, oh, he's so hot. And then like a guy that you're not into would use the same pickup line and you'd roll your eyes and be like, sorry, I'm taken.
Yeah.
Well, it's the idea too of if especially if that person is hot and they weren't ugly, like in their preteen years or their teenage years, like you're out.
Yeah.
Because then you never had to try hard for like
Exactly.
It's that idea. Then what have you tried hard for? You've gotten away with a lot of things because you were hot.
100%.
And also teenagers now like didn't have to go through the plights that we had to go through. I was so fucking ugly when I was in junior
God
high.
almighty.
Like I see like 7th and 8th graders now. I'm like, damn, like she looks like she's 20. I'm like, she didn't have to go through her awkward phase. So it's like guys that never had to deal with that. You can tell like in their 30s, like they just have never had to be the awkward kid. You know?
they're never as attractive now, like personality wise, because I'm like, you get everything handed to you. It's just that vibe. I'm like, I kind of rather a guy that's like, I'd rather a guy that's like a 7 or 8, but has an amazing like personality than like a 10 who's stale.
I had a hairdresser one time explain to me that like the hottest guy that has no personality is like a Ferrari that doesn't have an engine. It's really pretty to look at, but it won't take you anywhere. And I was like, damn, that's profound, right?
Yeah.
Shit happens in the hair salon.
Oh, he was fabulous. He's so right. Like, and he told me that I was in college, and he was like, I was telling him about my ex-boyfriend who was like the hottest person on the planet, and I was like 19, so of course like my life was over. But he was like, but you're never gonna go anywhere with somebody that doesn't have a personality and a brain. And I was like, damn, you're right. And that stuck with me.
1000%. Because you know what it is too? It's somebody that always had something handed to them, doesn't have that innate work ethic in them. And at the end of the day, relationships, it doesn't matter if it is the greatest relationship in the world. It's great because you work at it. It's work. It is work to be with somebody day in and day out. And
no matter who they are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I want you to want to work for it.
No, 100%. That's so true. I think like as I navigate dating single at 30, it's like there's obviously all this pressure. None of us have kids. Does it scare you? Have you considered freezing your eggs? Is it something that you like think about?
This was a huge episode.
Yeah.
This was a huge episode. I'll let you have the floor on this one.
I have not considered freezing my eggs. I'm now 35 officially. I did donate my eggs to a friend of the family when I had just turned 30.
Good for you.
So I, technically speaking, do have a biological child out there that does not in any way like belong to me in any way. But going through that process.
Wow, I just got the chills. How old's the kid?
He looks just like her.
He's a year and a half, I think.
Does he know that you're?
No.
Okay.
I mean, he will at some point.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But no. Not.
Well, he's a year and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, but
now.
I mean, we did a whole episode of Loud and Complicit about this conversation because I haven't thought about freezing my eggs, but like I guess maybe I should be thinking about that. But I also like we talked about biological clocks. Like I asked her if I was in her position, I would like that to me would be like I have a kid out there, and she's like, no, I have no attachment because I didn't actually carry the baby. Like I didn't birth the baby. So I'm like, there's just so many different ways that you can react. And like, I feel like everybody has this like quote biological clock, but there's not an actual timeline on that. Some people have it early in their 20s. They're ready to have kids right away. Like I'm not ready to have kids right now. So like
the
I
mental
haven't thought
part of
about
it, not the physical.
The mental,
part.
yeah.
The physical part, obviously.
Yes, the
we
mental
have,
part
I've
of it,
been on the
yes.
clock for a long time.
Yes.
So a few episodes back, I had a fertility specialist on, and like she really made me feel like I should like freeze my eggs, because basically the younger you do it, the
Alyssa,
healthier.
let me tell you that when I went to donate my eggs, the doctor, and I understand totally like the biological reasons for it, but I was like, damn, that sucks. The doctor basically tried to, I wouldn't say convince necessarily, but did tell the couple that I was donating my eggs to that maybe they should find somebody else, because I was 30 and my count was down. And this was before doing any of the testing, but just, you know, biologically speaking, you hit a certain age and your numbers are down.
Of course.
So they're like, what about getting like a young girl in her like early 20s? It's like, Jesus Christ. I felt like they were taking me out to a pasture to like do out with me. Yeah.
You're like, what am I, 65? Like,
I mean, I get it, but also like
you're 30 years old.
Then they selected me like this. It was just so casual, just like you're buying a pair of shoes. Maybe those shoes aren't the best. Why don't you go see if there's another pair?
that is wild. And also, yeah. So
you just experienced that.
Well, so basically, the reason why she made me feel like it's a good option is because she was like, you only get older and you only like lose your ovarian whatever reserve. So she's like, the younger you do it, it's kind of just like insurance. She's like, you might not use them for your first kid, but down the road, if you get pregnant naturally and then you want to have a second or a third and you can't, then you have frozen eggs that are 30-year-old eggs and not 38-year-old eggs. So I was like,
solid point.
Fair.
It's
and then
just
she offered to
expensive.
fly me out to Chicago and get the treatment. So you bitches want to go?
Yeah. We're freezing our
Fuck,
eggs,
listen,
baby.
Alyssa, she just offered you up like $12,000 on the spot. You 100% should do that.
I don't think they'd pay for like the treatment, but they'd pay for like the initial like consultation and all of that.
Well, I've had friends that it's very expensive. In New York City, anyway,
is.
it's about like $12,000-13,000.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
It is.
And that makes sense. And meanwhile, again, dudes can just jerk off in a cup.
But insurance should cover that. Like, what the fuck, man? Why do insurance, like, why don't they cover that? That should be.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It is crazy. And yeah, I think it's just such a thing. Like, do you guys want kids? Like, do you want to have a family?
Oh man,
I'm open to it.
I'm open to it, which I never thought I would be before last year. This is something that we both similarly went through as well. I never wanted kids.
Wow.
And then I had a switch in 2020 where I'm open to it. I'm not like, oh my gosh, I have to have a family. But now I'm more open to the idea. And I know you had the same
Was it
feeling.
COVID?
And I would say no, actually,
It was a relationship in COVID that I had.
Yeah, that kind of. And for me, it was more than open. Like, yeah, I'd like to have a child someday.
Wow.
But not necessarily. I guess what has not come at this point, anyways, is the family perspective, like the idea of like, oh, but I really want to get married. Like that has never been a part of me, and it's still not.
I'm more open to the idea of having a kid than I am getting married.
I kind of am too.
Which is
but like,
right.
And I like I know that people are like, oh, it's kind of backwards, but like marriage to me is just like off the table right now.
I think I'm just so single that marriage feels so far away that I'm like, I should have a kid. Like I almost like feel like a kid's more like it'll be my baby.
It is right. It is. It's like a
It's true. I totally
like
get
when
what
you
you're saying.
look at that and you're like, oh, like the amount of time that it would take for me to like seriously date somebody and get engaged and get married feels like it's a lot longer away than like, oh, or I could just have a baby.
Or just pop one out in 8 months, 9 months.
It's crazy. Like, I mean, I dated a guy for 6 years in my 20s and, you know, we picked out a ring and everything and I chased my career. It didn't work out. He was fantastic. But like Liz and I have said, like, you can be with an amazing person and a great relationship and it might just not be the time to take that next step.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times when you're younger, you don't really understand that. You don't accept that. Now I look back and I'm like so thankful, not because he wouldn't have made me happy. I probably would have been in a great marriage, but
Probably
it was
would have had a few kids by now.
for sure. In
Yeah.
Texas, girl. Like what John Mayer said, we'd be baby number 3 at this point. But
2.5 kids, the dog,
a
couple of dogs.
The suburban life. But like I knew that that's not what I wanted for my life. I wanted to chase my career, and so that to me at the time meant you have to either choose your career or you have to choose a family. As I've gotten older, I've realized you don't have to choose one or the other. You can have both, but you have to work for it. You can't just assume you're going to have this perfect family life and this perfect marriage and perfect kids and a perfect career. Like that's just not the real world.
Something's gonna have to give.
Wait, I actually have one more interesting question that popped into my mind. Do you guys because I feel like we are all in untraditional situations with our jobs and stuff. Do you feel like you'd be okay being the breadwinner?
Yes.
Because I feel like good. Because I feel like it's a point where like we all might have to be.
Right.
Only though if I were with a man that would be okay with that. And I think that it takes a very special man to be so secure in himself that he would be completely okay with it.
And a man that's still ambitious. Like
Right,
I don't
right.
like I don't care if I make more than you, but I still want you to work your ass off
Right.
because I'm attracted to ambition.
Yes, yeah, and for sure, like you don't want like somebody who's sitting on their ass at home, just like
Yes.
waiting
Right,
for you to
playing
bring the
video
money.
games,
But
yeah.
if you make more money than them, then like
And we
fine,
equally
that's
both
okay.
work our asses off.
Right,
Fine.
that's fine. I mean, Liz knows this story. I mean, I got broken up with because I was told I wasn't domestic enough. I wasn't domestic and easy enough. Like I had to.
In 2020, was that 2020 or 2021?
2020. Yeah, in 2020, by somebody who's very successful, who has, I mean, makes good money, and he was just like, well, you're not domestic enough. Like
It's
this
like, then
isn't
you're
easy
not
enough."
I've
my
been watching too
guy.
much I Love Lucy.
Like, what
Yeah.
the fuck? Are you serious? Like, and I was on Token with Erica when I told her, she was like, oh, fuck that guy. And I was like, it was just more of just like an eye opener of some men are just not okay with women being successful. And probably, there's obviously vice versa too, where there are women that want to be at home and want to be the domestic type. But I was just like, damn, like you're ending like a really good relationship because I'm not domestic enough.
But
for you?
also, thank you.
Oh yeah, no,
Thank
for
you
sure.
for the
like,
honesty and
like
for
thank God,
showing
but
me the
like,
person you were or are now.
it's just
Yeah.
it's incredible to me that that's even like still a thought process. So it's like, yeah, I understand. Like I've chosen my career first over relationships multiple times. Like I've broken up with men multiple times to move,
Yeah.
but like if I'm the breadwinner, I'm the breadwinner. Like that's just,
It also
it's 2020.
It also sucks. Like this is pissing me off now that I'm thinking about it. That women have to choose. It's like men, because they don't carry babies. Like this isn't an issue for them. They could have the career and they could have the family, and because first of all, it's more socially accepted, and second of all, they don't have to take 9 months off. Well, not that you take 9 months off, but you carry a child for 9 months, take a maternity leave. It's like it's unfair that we are expected to literally do it all if we want to work. Because I always am going to want to work. Like that's just
Always.
how I am. It's like if we want to work, if we want to have kids, if we want to have a husband, it's like, I'm sorry, things should be split down the middle then, because I'm equally as out of like the home as you are. I'm not sitting around
Right.
changing the sheets all day. Like because we're both working.
Right.
But
so
I
then
think that's when too, like we just have to accept that like we're just as women, we're not going to make everybody happy. Well, that's true of people in general, but certainly as a woman, you're never going to make everybody happy. Like you can't, because if you're a stay-at-home mom, then well, you're just a stay-at-home mom. Like people don't respect that.
Yeah.
If you're a working mom, well, who's taking care of your kids? You're a bad mother. If you don't have children, then
What's wrong with
you're a
you?
woman. Why don't
Yeah.
you have children? You're basically a worthless woman.
I feel like
so
people
it's-
sometimes look at me like that, like, oh, you're single.
Yeah, it's like
It's like, relax, like I'm okay. It's like people project their own like thought process onto you because generations, like things have changed. Like my mom was married at 21. My grandma was with my poppy for Poppy, not like PAPI, for like
I had a poppy too.
65
P-O-P-P-Y.
years. Yeah, I know. As soon as I said it, I'm like, I hope people don't think I'm like my puppy.
No, P-O-P-P-Y.
Call him
Poppy. Call him Poppy.
Yeah, I was like, ugh.
David Ortiz.
Yeah, but basically, like, they were together, 65 years? My parents were together 35 years. And it's like, I probably, this sounds really sad, but like, I probably won't be with someone that long because I'm going to get married later.
Right. But I mean, and that's like a thing. So my parents in Texas in the 80s didn't get married until they were in their 30s, which was a rarity, especially then.
Wild.
Big time.
Big
Oh,
time.
yeah.
I mean, like huge. Like they were in their early 30s when they met, and then had me, and then had my sister in their late 30s. So I grew up thinking that was the norm. But then so like my parents were 10 years older than my friends' parents. And so
Yeah.
it was like, oh, like this is the way that it's always been in me. Is like, no, you have your career first and then you have a
that's
family.
cool.
So, but then I realized like a lot of other people don't experience that. So they look at me, and New York is different, right? Like we
It
know
is,
that. Like
yeah.
it's different. When I go home, like it's like, what's wrong with you?
Poor Kayce, she's so lonely.
I know, I'm
She's
like-
not with someone. She doesn't
Yeah.
have children.
She's putting on this front,
Yeah,
pretending
she's
she's
so
happy.
unhappy. Exactly.
I'm telling you right now that whenever it's like, and it's like my close girlfriends who do have families, like they're always like, please tell me about all the fun things that you get to do because you don't have to tote a stroller around. I was like, girls, sit down. I'll tell you. It's like people can't understand that it's like these are our choices. Like some people do want to get married and they haven't gotten married yet. I personally could have gotten married and chose not to. And I'm okay with that decision. And as I get older, I accept more and more of like, but I can also change my mind at some point.
Yeah.
Right. And also, at what point did we decide that being married is the thing to do, that's what defines you as a person and makes your life complete? Like that is just beyond.
Yeah. It's interesting because I'm somewhere in the middle where like I'm ready to meet someone, but then not because I'm like, oh, I want to get married tomorrow. Just like I'm ready to have a boyfriend at this point. The thing though that is like I grew up very like traditional Italian and like, you know, get married, the woman cooks, but I'm not going to be that way. Like, I'll tell you that much. I think my parents actually do a really good job of like splitting the chores. Whereas like some of my extended family members, it's more like traditional. Whereas like my dad, like if they throw a party, like my dad's helping my mom. He's grilling, he's like vacuuming, like he's helping her with things. So that was really nice to see growing up. But I think I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to date. But then sometimes I think about like my life and I'm like, I have this public job. I still have so much I want to do in my career. Like, where does someone fit into that? So I kind of have like the devil and the angel. And I feel like with just timing, it will work out how it's supposed to work out, you know?
For sure. And I have to tell you that it is up to you to decide.
Yeah.
What kind of person you want to be with and how that person fits in your life. I think that we also have been, by society or whatever standard has been set, taught to believe that it has to be in this one particular way. You get to choose exactly how you want to be with a partner. Like there should not be this definition of like, well, this is what makes a good relationship and this is what it has to be. It's just not true.
Yeah, that's really true.
It is true. And it's also like, you know, you want to be with somebody who help builds you up. And the second that that's not happening, like that relationship is not going to work. And like when you're younger, I don't think you realize that. Now as I've gotten older, like, and I know I've told both of you this, like I've essentially never been fully single. But I've found people to fit certain molds because I need those like necessities. But then now I'm like, well, wait a minute, like this relationship isn't building me up, so why would I continue to be in it? Because the longer that I do this, it's just making me a worse person at what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah, and I think something's to be said about being single for a while.
I know.
Because
Liz tells
like
me this all the time.
I know, because I like know myself now. You know what I mean?
Liz has been lecturing me, Alyssa.
Yeah.
She's been telling me I need to do this.
You
Trust me.
do. Because like you just learn like who you are, what you want. It's like if I want to text a guy every single day, I can find a guy to text every single day. I'd rather not text the loser and be by myself and do shit that I enjoy until the right person comes along. Like I don't need like placeholders. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know, okay, so
I know what you mean, but I'm really bad at actually fulfilling that. I know the game plan. I just can't run the play. We're already halfway through. It's not gone swimmingly so far.
Hey, there's the second half. It's not over till it's over.
So I want to get into my advice segment with you guys.
Okay.
If we go a little over 2, is that fine?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so people write in for my Ask Alyssa segment, and we're going to give some people some advice.
Again, I love giving advice. I'm just really bad at taking it myself.
We're all like wizards when it comes to giving advice. And then when it comes to yourself, you're like, ooh, probably should have listened.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought this was interesting. So Ask Alyssa. Hi, Alyssa. I love the pod. Thank you for all you do and being so open. It's appreciated. I'm traveling to New York for a week and want to change my location on Hinge to NYC to go out on some dates. By the way, I'm based in Canada. Should I write anything on my profile about visiting for the week or am I just bringing that up if I start speaking to someone? In terms of dating, I'm looking for a genuine connection and relationship, so I don't want to come across as someone that's just looking for a good time. I work remotely and have a bunch of friends in New York City, so I'm always visiting, and I'm open to a long-distance relationship. Any advice is appreciated. Thank you. This is a tricky one, right?
It's a tricky
I
one.
mean, not really.
Okay,
Oh,
give us
I
your
think it's-
opinion.
No, why on earth would she listen? She's just here for a week. That's 100% going to make it seem like she's just looking
Trying to
for
hook
some
up.
ass. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nobody's business if you're here for a week publicly. If you meet somebody and you hit it off, that would be the point to be like, oh, hey.
But do you
until
think
then,
it's
mum is word.
Do you think it's deceitful? Okay, so one time I went on a date with this guy who, by the way, I saw yesterday on a city bike.
Of course you did.
Like,
It's
of
New York. Of course you
Yeah,
did.
I went on a date with this guy and location was New York, whatever. We go out, we really hit it off. And he's like, by the way, like I'm in grad school in Wisconsin. And he's like, but he's from New York. So he's like, I'm home for winter break. I didn't want to tell you that because I didn't think you'd go out with me. So like,
would you have gone out with him if he told you he wasn't living in New York?
Maybe because he's from New York, like, and school is temporary.
Right.
So I think that's kind of different. But if he was just like traveling through, I think I'd feel a little like duped.
I agree with what she said. That was my first thought was like, if you put like, I'm just here for a week, you're going to attract the people who think that you just want to hook up. And like 100%. She said, she doesn't want to like look like she's just trying to have a good time. But at the same time, I do think that there is an element of like, if you go off and you really hit it off and then like halfway through the day, you're like, oh, by the way, I live in fucking Canada. I don't even live in the United States of America.
Mean, how often do you go on a date with somebody, you're like, oh my God, I want to, like, it's also, you're also contingent on the idea that you're going to meet somebody and that person's going to matter. And guess what? If that person does matter,
that's a good point too. See,
it's not going to matter to him if you live somewhere else, especially because, as she says, she frequents New York so much.
What if she puts, bicoastal isn't the word obviously, but what if she puts like between Canada and New York? So like it's open. Like I live in both basically. I feel like that's not a bad vibe.
That's not a bad vibe.
I don't think it's necessary personally.
You're not wrong.
In my Twitter bio for a while, which had nothing to do with dating, but I said like when I was living in New York, but I still had my apartment in Boston with my ex-boyfriend, I literally put like New York and then sometimes Boston.
Yeah.
Just because and that was more just like make fun of people that were always mad at me that I love Boston so much. But I think that there is like a middle ground thing, but like at the same time on a dating app, like it really is none of their business.
My biggest thing is if you're looking for a really serious relationship, like it's going to kind of be hard to, one, meet someone in New York that wants a serious relationship, but two, meet someone that then is fine with you going back to Canada. Like, I just feel like it's tough to begin with. Like, you're better off probably just meeting someone in Canada.
Yeah, but
whatever.
Also, if you meet someone, and like you guys figure out a way to make it work. It's just, but going into it with all of these reservations and, well, not this, I think like that's scary, or like that's unlikely that you will meet anybody under those terms. Like,
also hot
be
take,
open to what the universe brings you.
Yeah, and I am okay with long distance relationships. Like obviously there's problems with it, but like having a long distance relationship also gives you time to be by yourself. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Kayce wanting to be by herself.
I like being by myself for a period of time, Liz.
She's like 24 hours. That's
it.
Like
no. That's the thing. It's like it really does make no sense because like I love living alone. I've lived alone for a long time. Like I want my peace and quiet, but I also always want to have some sort of dude in my life. And I know it's a problem. We'll work on it. But like her saying like she's open to a long distance relationship, that to me is an okay, like she can go on a date and be like, hey, like, I know I don't live here, but like, I'm not just here just to meet you one or two times. Like I actually do want to make this work. You know, like if you're not, because there are some people that can't do long distance and that's totally fine. But if you are somebody like me, I've had long distance relationships that I have enjoyed, then like that helps that scenario of being like, I'm okay with a long distance relationship. I also just don't live here.
Yeah. I just think that that's initially a small detail,
right?
Like it becomes a very big detail when you become in a relationship with somebody, but to meet somebody, that's a small detail. It would be like if I met somebody and they had, let's say, a similar situation, but they had a kid and they didn't put on their profile father of one.
True.
Like I would never expect them to like just put like, and nor would I feel deceived if at the end of the date they're like, oh, or the next date, by the way, I have a child.
Yeah, because you say it in due time. Like it's like when you're comfortable. Also, I'm laughing because as I give advice on this, the guy that's flying in to take me on a date tomorrow night just landed.
He just like doesn't live here. He just
does not live here.
Again, taking our own advice, but it is.
And I bet you're gonna have a great fucking time.
A great fucking time.
But like, yeah, so
yes,
it's just funny. Ironic. I just got text like, "Hey, landed."
Like, of course, naturally, like that's the way these things work.
Okay, next question. Hello, first off, love you and the podcast. It's been such a highlight of my week. I have an Ask Alyssa question centered around career. I'm 29 and already on my second career change. My first was in accounting, which I majored in college. I switched over to marketing a couple years ago because I was in an industry. Because it was an industry I was interested in and thought it would be a better fit for me. Now here I am 2+ years later and still not feeling satisfied in my career. It's definitely an improvement from my first career, but I still don't feel super happy. My question is, any advice for finding your passion? I feel like there are so many opportunities out there, but I don't even know where to start. Would love any advice you have on this topic.
I'm going to be the risky one in this situation because I don't have any sort of I don't know if fear is the right word, just normalcy about that kind of stuff. Like I'm somebody that if you're not happy, figure out a way, like figure it out. And it doesn't matter if you're 29, if you're 18, if you're 50 and you decide that what you're doing, in my opinion, if what you're doing isn't fulfilling you, life's too short. Like, figure that shit out.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. You're not old at 29. You're not old at 50. Like, there's so much, you know, left ahead of you. To be unhappy, to me, is a waste. Everything, like, just jump.
Yeah, I agree completely. Like, I think at this point, and I do feel like that society is kind of moving towards this more and more too. It's like, you don't have to stay at a job that you hate for 30 years because that's your career. Like, you can make a change. There, you know, all three of us have made changes. I mean, I've been in sports my entire career, but I was at a network and I didn't like being there. So I made a change. Like, you have to figure out what makes you happy. And as far as like trying to find your passion, that goes back to what we said earlier in the podcast, is working on yourself to figure out what you really like and what you really, not only what you like, but what you're also really good at. And like, if you find something that you're good at and you can make money off of it, that's the dream. And that's like the three of us are sitting at like dream jobs because we had to grind to get here. But had we just like at 23 just been like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to go into accounting because I know I'm going to get a good paycheck, like, that wouldn't have made us happy.
I know. It's interesting when women like us give advice to these, because clearly we're all risk takers.
Yes.
So I feel like sometimes you're innately a risk taker, or you're someone that like stays inside the lines. So we're all like, do it.
Yeah, I mean,
quit that job,
and
girl.
again, like, yeah, it is easy for us to say because that is, I mean, I moved to New York without knowing a single person in New York. I did not have a job. The apartment I rented, I did not see in person. I just rented it online and hoped for the best. I did not have a single dollar saved. Literally, I came with like I had my first and second month's rent paid for, and I had like $200 something. That is it. And I didn't have a job. And I'm like, I'll figure it out.
And you did.
And I did.
Yeah.
And I did. But, you know, I would say to her, maybe figure out a way to trust in yourself that you will figure it out.
Yeah. And I would say the one thing that really worked for me was when I was in a career that wasn't super fulfilling. So I went from working like entertainment PR with celebrities to then working in consumer PR on like Johnson & Johnson brands, which like isn't super sexy. So that's when I decided to launch my blog on the side. So my biggest piece of advice is find your passion on the side while you're getting the paycheck, if you're not one of those people that's just gonna like quit on a whim with no money saved. And then I started like finding my passion through that. And then finally that became my full-time job eventually. So it's like, do something on the side. That's always my advice to people, whether it be writing, acting, I don't know, go work in a restaurant, like go do something that like makes you feel more fulfilled or passionate. And then that might end up being like the road that you go down.
Yeah, like if you're
Great
not
advice.
right, it's fantastic advice, because not a lot of people are risk takers. Like I did something similar to Liz. Like when I left ESPN, I moved back or I was already living in College Station, but I was basically paying to have my own radio show because I was like, this is what I know I want to do, and it worked out. But there are a lot of people that don't have that feeling of security in that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like whether it's not having money saved or like you have to be getting a paycheck, where if you do something on the side while you're still making a living and meeting, you know, your ends are meeting and you're making your bills and are paying your bills, whatever, like that's great advice, because not everybody can just be like I'm just gonna leave.
Whoops, yeah.
Yeah, whoops. Like, and I mean,
like
it's
maybe
worked out for us. It's also people have done what we've done and it not worked out. So
100%. Like my friend works in finance, not fulfilled. She became a spin instructor and would teach classes before work because fitness brought her happiness. And or like if you want to work with kids, go coach a soccer game. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like do something that like fulfills you, because I think sometimes it's okay to have a job that just pays the bills if your passion is something else.
And still being
Completely
fulfilled
agree.
in some way.
Exactly. Whereas for me, my job is my passion, so I don't need to look outside.
And
for
also it's we have this this big stigma around failure, and I think a lot of people don't do things because they don't want to fail, and they don't want to be the person that did this crazy thing and then failed at it and have somebody else be like, told you so, you probably shouldn't have done that. I disagree completely. You should. In everything there is a lesson, and oftentimes like I've learned the most from my failures.
I've failed many times.
Many times.
I mean, it's true with careers, with relationships, with friendships. Like the failures teach you the most, you know, like, I mean, I know now the type of man that I want to date because of the failures in the men that I broke up with or that broke up with me.
Yeah.
And so with your career, it can be the same thing. Like if you're scared to fail, then you're probably not ever going to find your passion. I really do believe that, because if you're only worried about making ends meet, that's totally okay. That's your right. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be fulfilled elsewhere.
100%. Also, another tip, one thing that I love to do is I listen to a lot of like entrepreneur podcasts, because obviously I'm very entrepreneurial. And what's so interesting is whenever like people interview these wildly successful people, they all were like, oh yeah, I failed, and then I was bankrupt, and then I dropped out of college. And it's like every successful person failed 9 million times.
You have to take risks.
Exactly.
And now obviously there are levels of risks, and you have to be comfortable with that.
High risk, high reward.
Right. But it's, speaking. I mean, it is something that you have to look at. And also, like, she's 29, like that's so young.
Yeah.
In
100%.
the grand scheme of things.
I just got this job at 30.
Yeah. I mean,
exactly.
Like,
I got it at, well, let's see how I have to do the number.
Do your
probably
math,
around
Liz.
Was
32.
I 31, 32? 31.
Yeah.
31, yeah.
Yeah.
31
so
and a half.
And that's where it's like, you know, I see people sometimes be like, oh, you know, I really wish I would have tried something when I was younger. Like now it's like, it's never too late to find your passion. And you're completely correct. Like our jobs are our passion. So we're very lucky.
Yeah, it's different.
We work in an industry and in a place where we are passionate, but you can also find passion outside of your job as well. And maybe that potentially does become how you pay your bills.
And
100%.
if she doesn't know what she wants to do, like this is going to sound really nerdy, but I would make a list of like at your current job, what is it that you do like that you would like to bring into your next job? And this is if you have like absolutely no idea, and if you don't know where your passions lie, and figure out like on a daily basis, like, oh, I really enjoy, I don't know, reading this magazine for whatever reason, but look at like not just what I like to do, but why do I like to do this? What does this bring me? Yeah. And when you figure out what it is that you want inside of yourself,
Liz
when
has a way of making everything sound very sexual.
You figure it out, the rest will follow.
100%. And also, last thing, and then I'm going to move on. Look at what you would want to be doing if money wasn't an object, and start there too. Okay, last question. Hey, Alyssa, I have an Ask Alyssa question for you. So I've had the best friend for 5 years. I lived with her and her family for a while. We've traveled the world together, and she was at my sister's wedding. Last year, we started hanging out with this other girl, and she came between us and whispered false drama into our ears. My best friend and I tried to work on it, but she ended up exploding, harbored emotions on me, and essentially called me a whore, amongst other things. I've had no idea she thought so low of me, and we haven't spoken in months as a result. I've never had a best friend breakup before, so I'm really struggling. It hurts just as bad as a breakup, and I don't think that's talked about enough. Best friends could break your heart too. Do you think I should try to fix the friendship since it's been months and I'm still hurting? Or do you think it's better to just let it/her go and move on with my life? Also, she's the girl who came between us. Oh, also, she and the girl who came between us are now best friends.
That's tough.
Oh, I've been here.
I've had a friend break up. It's painful.
Friend breakups suck.
Yeah, they really do.
Oof.
It
Okay.
also kind of depends on your age. Like I know she didn't say her age, but like my friend breakup was in college, and then now she is my best friend again because we were young and dumb. You know what I mean? Like I think it does depend on where you are in your life, right?
Yeah, and maybe like, well, I don't know, and maybe just the kind of person you are like that. So for me, I had a friend who I was best friends with from 8th grade all the way through, or I thought through college, and right after we graduated, maybe 6 months after, I was actually in Ireland with my then boyfriend, and I received an email from her.
Oh, jeez.
Literally saying, he couldn't believe, because he obviously knew her for years. He couldn't believe it. He was like, there's no way that's what that says. And the email was literally like, hey, thanks for being friends with me for all these years. But I have other friends in my life right now, and so I don't really need you anymore. But if you ever need anything, like, you know, I'll be here for you.
Jesus
and
Christ.
I like, it was brutal.
Yeah.
And we like, I still don't really know exactly what happened. She went.
That's insane.
It was
Also, it's like if you don't want
was
to be
just
my
crazy.
friend, just kind of like fizzle me out. You don't need to write me a letter.
It's such a formal, and I was very confused.
How did it sign off?
And I don't remember.
I didn't know how
Talk
to
to you
sign
never.
Like,
I wonder if I still have that
with
email.
love,
It was
kind of
shocking. I'm going to look and see if I still have that email.
Yeah.
It was, I was startled, and, you know, and her family was basically my second family. I mean, like
like this kind of, like they
I
said.
cooked, you know, she didn't like to bake and stuff. I do. So her mom and I would, for years we would bake. We went to the same church. Her dad loved sports. She did not. So I would watch all these games with him. I mean, I was very much a part of their family. And after this happened, like I called, you know, her mom and home to be like, am I missing? What's going on? unreturned calls for weeks. And at some point, like the mom finally picked up the phone and was like, this isn't like, you know, obviously she's chosen not to be your friend. We don't like, just don't call back here. Like there's nothing really left for me to say.
Oh my God, that's
I
heartbreaking.
have no idea what happened, but it was
to this day, you don't know.
No idea. And I reached out to her via email, maybe 6 years after, 5 or 6 years after. And she was very like, oh yeah, sorry if the email was harsh. Hope you're well. I mean, like it was odd. It was very, very odd.
This is freaking bizarre.
Yeah,
this
so
might
bizarre.
be like a different situation than that, but I'm also not the kind of person that could like, maybe now, probably not now, that could forgive something like that because it was so cold. So I guess for me, it's like, what kind of person are you? Are you somebody that all of these bad things could be said to you and you could genuinely move on and get past them? Or are you somebody that's going to be looking at that person for years thinking, I know exactly what you think about me, and still hold on to that? Because if you are going to hold on to it, then it's a waste of both of your time.
That's true.
I think for me, I'm the kind of person that like I was like going during like quarantine, I felt like friendships got kind of weird. And like I had this one friend who I like kept kind of confronting and being like, what's wrong? Like, what's wrong? Because I'm the kind of person that I rather have the last word and know I've tried everything in my power to make this work. So at the end of the day, I have no regrets. I'm like, I tried, I reached out, I did this, I did that. We're fine now. Like it wound up, you know, being fine. I think it was just quarantine was just weird ass times for everyone. But then there was this other girl who I was like, I would say more like social friends with. You know, you have those people in the city, and I take every relationship kind of like heavily. So even though we would just like go out and party, I still would be like, so tell me about your parents. Tell me about, you know, I'm just that way. So I still valued her. And then I saw her kind of being like manipulative and like she was a bully and she would isolate people. And then, you know, I saw her isolate my one friend. And then I saw her isolate my other friend. And then all of a sudden I started to notice she was doing it to me. And I was like, bitch, two could play this game. I will never talk to you ever again. I literally ghosted her ass because I was like, I've seen you push all these people out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I see it's happening to me now. Right. I started slowly not being in the group chat, and that's the same pattern she did with everyone. So that one was one of those friendship breakups where I didn't feel bitter. Like I didn't feel sadness because I was like, no, your true colors are just showing.
Yeah,
and
you got out in front of it because you were watching what was happening.
Exactly. So it's different. Like there's times where it's like painful and hard, and then there's times where it's like, this isn't going to work out anyway because we're just not vibing.
I think that and I say this about friendship breakups or, I mean, romantic relationships, like what would make you feel better? Like for this girl, like my advice is like, if it would make you feel better to reach out to her, then do that. If it's going to be something that you're doing because you out of necessity, you think you have to, then don't do it. But it's like, do whatever makes you feel better in this situation. And if you're heartbroken and reaching out to this person is what might help you, do that.
Yes.
And I would probably reach out just knowing myself because I rather know I laid it all on the line one last time and I tried and I gave it my all.
Yes.
Because like you just want to know that you don't have any loose ends on your end.
Right. Exactly. And like and the friend bringing the wedge in there too, like that's also showing true colors. Like if you are allowed, if you were in a best friendship with a female, like for us, and you allow somebody to put a wedge in, like that also says something about you.
Right. It's like
you know
people getting
I mean?
cheated on. Like nobody ever breaks up with somebody because they were cheated on. The cheat is just an indication there was something wrong in the relationship to begin with.
So like that to me, so this girl, like it seems like she's very heartbroken because she feels really betrayed. So are you, like Liz said, are you going to be able to get over that betrayal? Like you might be heartbroken, but they still are best friends. So it does say something about your former best friend as well. So you kind of have to look at it that way. But to me, I'm always all about like, don't care what she has to say if you need to reach out. Like if you need to reach out, reach out.
Do it for you.
Do it for you.
1,000%. I called her house so many times over the course of weeks until I was finally like rejected. Like in the end by the mom.
That's
I was like, okay.
So sad.
Okay.
But it's like
rejection, loud and clear.
Like I would rather almost, and it sucks to be rejected for sure, but having like the lingering question mark of like, what should I do is so much worse to me.
Because then you know.
Then you know.
I agree. I 100% think I would reach out just given the way I am because I kind of like need answers, I feel. And even if they don't respond, that's your answer.
Exactly. No response is a response.
Yeah.
But and I also would add, and have your guard up still too, because obviously there's some issues. Like she wouldn't still be best friends with the wedger if there wasn't the wedger, who sounds awful, but
fucking wedger.
But the wedger. But I mean, just have your guard up, because like you don't want to continue to get hurt, but at the same time, if it's really weighing on you, then you have every right to try to get that weight off your chest. And if that's reaching out, that's reaching out.
100%. It was so nice having you guys on. I feel like we could talk all day.
Yes.
Okay, so where could everyone follow you guys, listen to the podcast, all of that?
So Loud and Complicit, you can go anywhere you listen to your podcast. It's only 6 episodes, easily digestible.
Quick binge.
And then Twitter and Instagram. Liz is getting good at Instagram now, Alyssa.
Woo.
I don't know if
I
I'd
just
say
requested
good.
you this morning. You're private.
Better.
Yeah, I'm private too.
That's,
Oh, you are?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
I think you get more followers being private.
I know.
Kayce trick.
People say that, I know.
Because then you post a lot of stories and then they send it and people they can't see it, so they have to follow you.
I should try it.
Yeah, that was actually Dave did that and like soared over 1 million followers.
True,
Now,
I'm
that's
just so
also-
used to being an open book that I'm like,
Yeah.
I want people to.
But
Ooh, I should try it. I'm kind of nervous.
it's like it's a big thing, and it does absolutely suck when you have 1 million things you have to like accept every day. But I mean, I think it works.
Oh,
But
Instagram queen over here.
love it.
I don't
We
know if
love
I'm a
it.
queen.
I'll take the advice.
Yeah, no, I'm decent at Instagram, but I refuse to get on TikTok. So credit to you. Credit to you, Alyssa, for
TikTok
for
queen over
taking
here.
over TikTok.
And I'm good at none of them. So no credit to me.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right. So let's spill the tea. I want to talk about Love Island. Let's talk about F-Boy Island first. I obviously haven't seen it yet, but the reason why I'm excited for this show is because when I was driving to Massachusetts a few weeks ago, I just like needed a podcast to listen to in the car. So I put on Nikki Glazer's podcast and I literally listened to her for like 3 hours.
Yeah, she's so funny.
I find her so funny. I had never listened to her podcast before, and she made the announcement on the podcast that she was going to be hosting F-Boy
I
Island.
forgot she was hosting it.
Yes, so Nikki
It's
Glazer's
such a good
the host.
addition, yeah.
And what she said, which made me more excited, was that Alon Gale, who is the creator of Bachelor in Paradise, he left the Bachelor franchise. He's creating F-Boy Island.
Oh, okay.
And Alon is known to be like, I think in the industry, like a genius when it comes to
he
TV.
is. Yeah, I've known him on The Bachelor for so long, I feel like.
Exactly. So the fact that he's putting on the show and Nikki's hosting it, I was like, okay, this is probably going to be very good, because once he left the Bachelor franchises, like I feel like when we kind of saw things going downhill a little bit, there was like more drama and less fun. And I honestly, maybe I'm giving him like too much credit, but I actually really think it has a lot to do with him. Yeah.
I feel like there was a correlation between him leaving and then it's significantly going downhill, like specific things that like made it worse.
You know what I think is so interesting, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, I think what separates The Bachelor from other dating shows is the fact that they still try to have this old school goody two-shoes image, and like they still make race such like a thing instead of just making it natural.
Yeah.
Like these other shows like Love Island or even like F-Boy Islands, like they just incorporate people and there's like interracial couples and it's like not a big deal.
Yeah.
Like they just make it more natural.
Right. Like it doesn't need to be spoken about.
Like I think The Bachelor's trying so hard to be like in your face, whereas these other shows are just like, no, this is like the way of the world, and like we're just going to include everyone and like make it diverse and make it cool. And it's just, I can't even explain it. Like it's just more natural.
The Bachelor went so long, I think, without it, that when it happened, they had to make a point of it because people were complaining about it. But they just went too long doing that. That's their biggest issue.
That's a good point. They had to be like, look what we're doing now.
Exactly. Even though it's like everyone else has been doing this for years. Like they're so out of the times.
Yeah. Like I feel like I watch Love Island and it's literally like everyone just is dating whoever. They're so open. It's so like they are having deep conversations. Like I'm really enjoying Love Island US. Is that the one that you're watching, or are you watching UK?
I'm watching like an old UK season now, but I need to watch US. I tried to find it on Hulu, but I couldn't like figure out how to watch it.
Which one are you watching? 5?
Yeah, 5. Yeah, with like Tommy and Molly May. So good.
No, you don't understand, because I'm a Molly May stan. Also, she's 21.
Yeah,
like, she's so much younger than me.
When they were saying that they were 20, I was shocked. And I forget too, in the UK, like the drinking age is 18, so it's a little different. But yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, 21.
Well, what I love about Molly is that she, after the show, got all of her filters dissolved, her lip fillers, her cheek fillers. She got her veneers off.
Oh, wow.
Like, she completely went back to being super natural. And I think that's such a good like spokesperson for young people that are watching the shows. She was like, I made myself look older, and like, who wants to look older? I want to look young.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow, that's actually really cool.
It's really I religiously watch her YouTube videos. Like, I just think she's fantastic.
Yeah. When she came on, I was texting my friend who had seen it before, and she's like, oh my God, Molly May. But when she first come on, she's like a little kind of crazy.
Yeah,
to Tommy.
she is a little.
So I'm like, what do you mean you love Molly May? She's kind of crazy right now. She's like, no, you just wait. You'll love her. And I already like love her 2 episodes later.
Absolutely love. I'm a huge Molly May stan. But so US, Love Island US, it's kind of hard watching them both at the same time.
Yeah, it gets confusing.
Yeah. So there's this girl, Kayce, and like, I mean, she definitely has her moments where she does things that are maybe like questionable, but I just think that she's such like a good example of someone to have on TV. She has no hair. She shaved it off.
Oh, wow.
And she's so confident in her skin. Like, she's like, she has the sickest body, and she's just like so confident. And I feel like she's such a good role model to have on television. And I don't know, like, it's just such a good show. Like, I think we're going to see it grow to be just as big as The Bachelor, if not bigger, over time. I think season 1, everyone was like, what is this? Season 2, they were like, oh, okay, I'm getting on board. Now season 3, I hear more and more people watching it. Like, I think it's going to get a really big following.
Yeah. And like, back to the thing about it being natural, I feel like it's more natural because it's almost not as produced as something like The Bachelor. Because when they have conversations, I notice, and this is just me like working in TV and production, they don't play music under every single conversation that's had. They just let the conversation happen. But when it's The Bachelor, it's like either dramatic music. If they want it to be dramatic, they'll put dramatic music.
I see what you're saying.
If they want it to be lighthearted, they'll put lighthearted. Like, no matter what the conversation is, they can change the tone based on music or based on like camera angles. But I think Love Island is so natural in the fact that they kind of just sit around and talk, and there's no almost like production to it.
And I don't think there's as much, what's that thing called? Frankenbiter?
Oh, I don't know.
It's called like Frankenbite or something.
Oh, okay.
It's when The Bachelor, they say, I'm like, oh, I hate McDonald's. And then in a different sentence, I'm like, hey, Mackenzie. They'll take me saying, I hate Mackenzie.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Like, clip it together.
Like, The Bachelor's notorious for doing that. And if you have like a trained like eye and ear, you could actually pick up on it sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think Love Island is manipulating the people as much. I could be completely wrong, but I think we're seeing like more of their conversations, like you said.
Yeah. And even in the Mackenzie interview, like, you asked her the questions, and she said there's never producers in your face.
Well, there's no producers.
They get
like
the text messages.
There's no producers, period. It's fixed cameras.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. So again, it just like makes it more natural rather than like the producers trying to start stuff.
You know what? I wonder if that has something to do with the fact, because when there's like, I've heard of people on reality TV shows, when there's a camera in your face, all of a sudden they turn it on for the camera. Like when a producer walks up to you, or a cameraman. But on Love Island, where there's just cameras hidden, you're kind of just yourself all day.
Yes, because you get used to them at a certain point. Yeah, that makes sense. So I think that plays a lot into like the naturalness of the show.
I totally agree. So I really love Kayce. I can't tell if I like love or hate Shannon and Josh. Like, I think I kind of love them now. I think I like them. Oh, there was this tea over the weekend that came out. Our boss getting dragged into Love Island drama. There's like all these articles about how he used to date one of the castmates or something.
Oh.
And everyone's asking me to comment on it. And honestly, I have no idea what it's like. That's his personal life. Like, I literally, I have no clue.
There was like rumors about him also dating Ramona Singer.
Yeah,
from
like,
there's so many things about him.
Who knows? Like, people can make anything up. It's like, I don't really care. Like, if he dated someone that's on a show, who cares?
Yeah,
Like, whatever.
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So everyone's like, what do you think? I'm like, I think literally nothing of it.
No comment whatsoever.
Yeah. So you guys could stop asking about that because I really have no idea. It's not, I don't know his personal life. Okay. So that was Love Island. I'm also loving Love Island UK. It's like okay this season. Like, I feel like there weren't as many instant connections as previous seasons, but I think after Casa Amor, things have kind of like leveled up a little bit, and I'm hoping that a lot is to happen. We stan Lily. Liam is so hot, so she's really strong for doing what she did. Either you know what I'm talking about or you don't. I'm trying not to spoil too much. Okay, and lastly, we will talk about Outer Banks a little. All I'm going to say, and I just did a TikTok on this, is that Outer Banks is the biggest HIBLI I've ever come across in my entire life. When I was watching episode 3, I was like, this is why I feel this way.
Yes.
Did you make it through the whole episode or no?
I think so. I like forget actually how far. You can talk about it though. I don't.
No, but tell me what you saw because we won't go past that.
All I remember is like Sarah like almost dying, and then she comes back to life, and then it like cuts to them like, oh, they were in the car and they were about to go get the gold, and then they blocked off the road.
Yes.
Yeah, I think.
But did she?
Oh, I don't know. You could say it. I'm gonna watch it like tonight this week. So
okay. But what do you mean almost dying? That's what I'm trying to dissect.
Like she died, and then he brought her back. Like she woke up again.
Okay, because she got
shot.
Okay.
Yes. Oh yeah. Sorry. I was like, wait, what did she do? I was like,
I didn't want to say that because Okay, when Sarah, you guys, okay, and I'm not going to spoil past episode 3, and I think that's fair because I think most people have watched at least 3 episodes.
And it's already out, so it's not like you're spoiling it because like people can watch it.
But I did what you did. Like, I watched until episode 3, and then like I took a break. I was like, this is enough for tonight.
Yeah, like I'm definitely going to finish it this week, and I also was by myself, and I get so scared. I'm like a little bitch.
No, but I was like, this is enough for right now. So basically, this is the moment that I was like, I can't. Sarah gets shot in the gut. They don't even talk about like, is the bullet still in her or did it go through her? Because she lays on a table. A doctor like cuts her open. He doesn't even like do anything. She's not even under like anesthesia.
No, he's being so sketchy. And then
he has zero urgency.
No. He's like, what are you going to do?
She dies on the table and then comes back to life. And then 30 minutes later, she's back on the run.
Yeah, and then she gets up and she's like, Sarah, you should not be up right now. And she's like, I don't care. I need to get the gold. Yeah, it's so funny.
But it's like, what?
Yeah, it's
like,
wild.
Where's the bullet? Did you get it out? Is she okay? Does she have He's like, yeah, she has some internal bleeding. It's like, I'm sorry, that doesn't just like heal in 10 minutes.
Go away. Yeah, like she should not be standing up right now.
They didn't even give her like a blood transfusion.
No, nothing. It's that's 100% why it is, because it's so, but you can't, like, literally every single episode is a cliffhanger, and it's nice because they all come out at once. So you keep watching, so it's not really, it doesn't have to be a cliffhanger.
I also felt like these episodes, so much happened in one episode.
Yes.
Like, I remember watching the first episode and feeling like I watched 3.
I was gonna say, I feel like I watched the 3, and I feel like I already watched the whole season.
Yeah, like I remember watching it and being like, wait, I'm still here. Like, I'm like, this isn't over yet. They're almost like little mini movies.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. Or like another reason why it would be a HIBLI, because they always, when they're doing stakeouts or watching people from behind, they always stay like 30 seconds longer than they should. Yeah. Like when they were meeting to exchange the gun that shot and killed like the police officer, and the guy was blackmailing him. I honestly can't even remember those people's names, but yeah. And they're videotaping him kill the person. And I'm like, they have the video of him literally shooting him. Like, that's just go right now. And then of course they like, the guy sees him because they waited way too long.
Okay, not only that, I'm sorry, but like that janky ass camera from 1990.
Like I think my mom has that in her basement from when I was in like kindergarten.
You think that camera is gonna withstand the rain?
Right. It was like so wide. First of all, not even it broke because they fell down the ladder, but
not because it was drenched.
Not because it was literally like a hailstorm and it was raining. Like, that's not waterproof. It's from like 1980.
No, like these are the details that make me like what. Also, okay, not for nothing. I know I'm talking so much shit, but this show's absurd.
It's so good. I love it, but also
Love
like
it.
100%. It's like the definition of a HIBLI.
It is 100% in its purest form.
Yes.
And if you guys are new here, HIBLI stands for hate it but love it. It's when you hate something so much that you actually kind of love it. Okay, another thing. When they come back, oh wait. Oh, they're still in the Bahamas for you. All I'm going to say is
You
this.
can say it. I personally, I'll watch it, so it's no
All
big
I'm going
deal.
to say is this, like in general, season 1, season 2, why is John B always the only one in trouble when it's like his friends are like accomplices?
Yes.
What's the word? Accomplice?
Accomplice.
Accomplices. His friends are just as involved. They're all stealing property.
Mm-hmm.
They're all totaling property, breaking stuff, robbing, leaving fingerprints all over. Yet John B's like always the only one in trouble.
Yeah, because I don't know. I feel like he's not connected. Like,
But like in any other situation, if you're like part of a crime, even like a small role,
right? Even if you see it,
yeah, you're still part or like withhold information.
a witness. Yeah,
It's like they're all just always off the hook so easily.
yeah, it's crazy.
I'm like, this is so bananas to me.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny. Or when she Kiara, when he's murdering guys, she's like, murderer, and yells at him. I'm like, they're like, what are you doing? And she's like, I don't care. He needs to know. I'm like, oh my God.
I'm pretty sure he knows he just killed someone.
Yeah, I'm like, he's aware. You don't need to like be seen.
JJ was having a big moment though this season too. Like JJ's the main character, very hot this season. The whole cast is honestly gorgeous. Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot to unpack with Outer Banks. And it's so funny because everyone was like, you need to talk to chicks in the office about it.
Yeah.
They love it. And me and Brianna actually feel the same way. So
yeah.
I feel like we need to have
that's
like
good, yeah.
dueling.
Yes. Yeah, and again, it's not like I love the show, but there's so many things that you're just like, wait, what? That's not real.
Yeah, it's like, I think I like it because it's entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's attractive. And it's in a beautiful, it's beautifully shot in like a great place. But when it comes down to it, like, is it a good show? Like, not really.
No, yeah, no. But like, you have to watch it because of the cliffhangers. Also, so funny. My boyfriend literally thought it was a reality show.
No.
We were like out to dinner and someone had mentioned with our friends and someone said, oh, I have to watch Outer Banks, blah, blah, blah. And we started talking about it and he goes, wait, I thought it was a reality show. He's like, I thought it was about kids who like lived on the Outer Banks, like
Honestly?
like Siesta Key, but Outer Banks.
Honestly,
And I was
yeah,
like,
I
oh.
kind of love that.
Yeah, I was like, that probably could be a good reality show. I'm like, how are you so? And like, he knows about things, so I'm like, how do you not know about this show? Like,
That's really funny.
he was like, I was like, but actually, that could be a good reality show.
This is the only other thing, and then I'll stop shitting on it because I'm sorry if you guys love it. But also, I hate to be that person that shits on something. Like when people shit on The Bachelor, I'm like, I still am gonna watch it. Stop shitting on it.
Exactly.
So I hate to be the negative one, but like this
we're
one,
just pointing out things, not really
flaws.
shitting on it. Yeah,
Yeah, but
in good fun.
The only other thing is that like it's filmed in Charleston, not the Outer Banks, and like it's so obvious that it's filmed. Whatever. Charleston's so stunning. I'm actually going this weekend, but it's like the houses, like it's so Charleston.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that's why they kept being like, oh, you'll see this, but they keep like in the season being like, we're going to Charleston, and it's
yes.
because you're in Charleston.
You're already there.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
the Outer Banks does not look like that.
No,
It's
no.
very much like a lot more land and like bush,
Yes.
brush,
Yeah.
bush, whatever.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's the tea for today. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to hold up this little manifest notebook that is launching very soon. It is so cute. I'm doing 2 merch drops. So I know I've been talking about these notebooks forever, but I met with the merch team and we have decided that we are going to do 2 merch drops. So the first one is going to be like home decor and accessories.
That's fun.
So it's going to be notebooks, a mug, because obviously we love to drink and spill the tea, a blanket, some posters if you have a dorm room, or just some like wall art for gallery walls. And then the other second merch drop will be closer to fall, and it's going to be like sweatsuits, beanies, hats, just like all that fun stuff. I think I might do like a pair of high socks because your girl is always wearing high socks. So stuff like that. So keep an eye out. I will continue the self-care club theme, but we're going to switch things up a little bit. I have a few new quotes that I'm going to be putting on things. So I am really excited for you guys to see that. And if you're not following me on Instagram, be sure to. I post on Tea with Publicity all the time. So definitely follow me there too. But I post like a lot of my announcements and stuff on my main IG. So follow me on over at Publicity. And I will see you guys next Tuesday.